Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. We welcome you all out there in cyberspace, wherever you all are. We're hoping you're having a nice day and a nice reading of the full Bhagavatam. Hope you're with us and hope you stay with us. Hare Krishna. All right. We're here with our Brahmachari Ashram book distribution party, and they went to a convention today and did 126 books. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada's book distribution key. Score Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. And they're all bright and bubbling. That's what happens when you please the spiritual master and you please Srila Prabhupada, you get happy. So that's the way to become happiest, to please Prabhupada. And I must add that when we read Prabhupada's books, he becomes very happy also, because he spent so much time, compiling these books and working so hard, staying up at night. And even when he was doing so many other things, he fixed his consciousness. So we should, he was very happy when we were happy. When anyone was happy reading his books, he became very happy. All right, we're trying to make Prabhupada happy by hearing his books every day. Okay. Sanatana Goswami's Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram prayers glorifying the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And it goes like this. Sarva Shastabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwandoditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangim Madguro Man Mahadana Manistadaga Madbhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy. I bow down to you. Sadhu Sadhu Tadayin Atini Chochata Kada Hanamunchagadachin Mam Premna Rit Kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, here we are right in the middle of Prahlada Maharaj's instructions to his classmates. One of the favorite sections of Srila Prabhupada's books, Srila Prabhupada's favorite, he would use so many of these verses and so many of the points that Prahlada Maharaj is making when he was giving his classes and counseling his devotees, speaking to the public. Okay, we're right in the middle. Canto 7. Hare Krishna. It's so nice to see you. How are you? Very good. Canto 7, Chapter 6, beginning with text 20. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, who is infallible and indefatigable, is present in different forms of life, from the inert living beings, stabara, such as the plants, to Brahma, the foremost created living being. He is also present in the varieties of material creations and in the material elements, the total material energy, and the modes of material nature. Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun, as well as the unmanifested material nature and false ego. Although he is one, he is present everywhere. And he is also the transcendental Supersoul, the cause of all causes, who is present as the observer in the cores of the hearts of all living entities. He is indicated as that which is pervaded and as the all-pervading Supersoul. But actually, he cannot be indicated. He is changeless and undivided. He is simply perceived as the Supreme Satchidananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Being covered by the curtain of the external energy, to the atheist, he appears non-existent. Purport. Not only is the Supreme Personality of Godhead present as the Supersoul of all living entities, at the same time, he pervades everything in the entire creation. He exists in all circumstances and at all times. He exists in the heart of Lord Brahma and also in the cores of the hearts of the hogs, dogs, trees, plants, and so on. He is present everywhere. He is present not only in the heart of the living entity, but also in material things, even in the atoms, protons, and electrons being explored by material scientists. The Lord is present in three features, as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. I just lost my place. Sorry. This will only take a second. Yeah. Because he is present everywhere, he is described as Sarvam Kalabhidam Brahma. Vishnu exists beyond Brahman. Bhagavad Gita confirms that Krishna, by his Brahman feature, is all-pervading. Maya tadamidang sarvam. But Brahman depends upon Krishna. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Without Krishna, there could be no existence of Brahman or Paramatma. Therefore, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the ultimate realization of the Absolute Truth. Although he is present as the Paramatma in the core of everyone's heart, he is nonetheless one, either as an individual or as the all-pervading Brahman. The Supreme Cause is Krishna, and devotees who have surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can realize him and his presence within the universe and within the atom. Andantadasta paramanu jayantadastam. This realization is possible only for devotees. This realization is possible only for devotees who have fully surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord. For others, it is not possible. This is confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 7:14. Daivyesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. The process of surrender in a devotional attitude is accepted by a fortunate living being. After wandering through many varieties of life on many planetary systems, when one comes to the real understanding of the Absolute Truth by the grace of a devotee, one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Mante Yanavanmam prapadyate. Prahlad Maharaja's class friends, who were born of Daitya families, thought that realizing the Absolute was extremely difficult. Indeed, we have experienced that many people say this very thing. Actually, however, this is not so. The Absolute, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is most intimately related to all living entities. Therefore, if one understands the Vaishnava philosophy, which explains how he is present everywhere and how he acts everywhere, to worship the Supreme Lord or to realize Him is not at all difficult. Realization of the Lord, however, is possible only in the association of devotees. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his teachings to Rupa Goswami, said, Brahmanda Brahmite kon bhagyavan jeev, Guru Krishna prasadi bhoy, bhakti lata bij. The living entity in the material condition wanders through many varieties of life and many varieties of circumstances. But if he comes in contact with a pure devotee, and is intelligent enough to take instructions from the pure devotee regarding the process of devotional service, he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin of Brahman and Paramatma, without difficulty. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya says, Antaryami pratyagatma vyapta kalo hadismritaha prakritya tamasa vritadvat tamasa vritvat harir aishvaryam na gyayate. The Lord is present as Antaryami in everyone's heart and is visible in the individual soul covered by a body. Indeed, He is everywhere at the same time and every condition. But because He is covered by the curtain of material energy, to an ordinary person there appears to be no God. Text 24. Therefore, my dear young friends, born of demons, please act in such a way that the Supreme Lord, who is beyond the conception of material knowledge, will be satisfied. Give up your demoniac nature and act without enmity or duality. Show mercy to all living entities by enlightening them in devotional service, thus becoming their well-wishers. Purport. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18:55, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyas jasmitatpataha. One can understand the Supreme Personality as He is only by devotional service. Prahlad Maharaj ultimately instructed his class friends, the sons of the demons, to accept the process of devotional service by preaching the science of Krishna consciousness to everyone. Preaching is the best service to the Lord. The Lord will immediately be extremely satisfied with one who engages in this service of preaching Krishna consciousness. This is confirmed by the Lord Himself in Bhagavad Gita 18:69. Nachatasman manusheshu kaschin me priyakrita maha. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. If one sincerely tries his best to spread Krishna consciousness by preaching the glories of the Lord and His supremacy, even if he is imperfectly educated, he becomes the dearmost servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is bhakti. As one performs this service for humanity, without discrimination between friends and enemies, the Lord becomes satisfied, and the mission of one's life is fulfilled. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised everyone to become a Guru devotee and preach Krishna consciousness. Yarideka Tarikava Krishna Upadesh. That is the easiest way to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By such preaching, the preacher becomes satisfied, and those to whom he preaches are also satisfied. This is the process of bringing peace and tranquility to the entire world. Bhoktaram Jagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantimrichyati. One is expected to understand these three formulas of knowledge concerning the Supreme Lord, that He is the supreme enjoyer, that He is the proprietor of everything, and that He is the best well-wisher and friend of everyone. A preacher should personally understand these truths and preach them to everyone. Then there will be peace and tranquility all over the world. The word suridam, friendliness, is very significant in this verse. People are generally ignorant of Krishna consciousness, and therefore to become their best well-wisher, one should teach them about Krishna consciousness without discrimination. Since the Supreme Lord Vishnu is situated in the core of everyone's heart, everybody is a temple of Vishnu. Everybody is a temple of Vishnu. Just checking. Everybody is a temple of Vishnu. Everybody is a temple of Vishnu. And that's two words. It's not everybody. It's everybody is a temple of Vishnu. That's all living entities. One should not misuse this understanding as an excuse for such words as Daridra Narayana. If Narayana lives in the house of a Daridra, a poor man, this does not mean that Narayana becomes poor. He lives everywhere, in the houses of the poor and those of the rich. But in all circumstances, he remains Narayana. To think that he becomes either poor or rich is a material calculation. He is always Shadaishwarya Purna, full in 6 opulences, in all circumstances. Text 25. Nothing is unobtainable for devotees who have satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the cause of all causes, the original source of everything. The Lord is the reservoir of unlimited spiritual qualities. For devotees, therefore, who are transcendental to the modes of material nature, what is the use of following the principles of religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, which are all automatically obtainable under the influence of the modes of nature? We devotees always glorify the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore we need not ask for anything in terms of dharma, kama, artha, and moksha. Purport. In an advanced civilization, people are eager to be religious, to be economically well situated, to satisfy their senses to the fullest extent, and at last to attain liberation. However, these are not to be magnified as desirable. Indeed, for a devotee, these are all very easily available. Bilvamangal Thakur said, Mukti swayam mukulijan mukulijatan jali sevate sman dharmartha kama gatayat samaya pratikshaha. Liberation always stands at the door of a devotee, ready to carry out his orders. Material advancement in religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation simply wait to serve a devotee at the first opportunity. A devotee is already in a transcendental position. He does not need further qualifications to be liberated. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14:26, Sagunan Samati Jaitan Brahmabhuyaya Kalpate. A devotee is transcendental to the actions and reactions of the 3 modes of material nature because he is situated on the Brahman platform. Prahlada Maharaj said, Agunena cha kangshitena. If one is engaged in the transcendental loving service of the lotus feet of the Lord, he does not need anything in terms of dharma, artha, kama, or moksha. In Srimad-Bhagavatam, therefore, in the beginning of the transcendental literature, it is said, Dharma projita kaitavo tra. Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha are kaitava, faults, and unnecessary. Nirmat saranam Persons who are completely transcendental to the material activities of separateness, who make no distinction between mine and yours, but who simply engage in the devotional service of the Lord, are actually fit to accept Bhagavat's Dharma. Dharmam Bhagavatam Iha. Because they are nirmatsara, not jealous of anyone, they want to make others devotees, even their enemies. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya remarks, Kankshate mokshagam api sukham na kankshato yata. Devotees are not desirous of any material happiness, including the happiness derived from liberation. This is called anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma jnanavitam. Karmis desire material happiness, and jnanis desire liberation. But a devotee does not desire anything. He is simply satisfied by rendering transcendental loving service at the lotus feet of the Lord and glorifying Him everywhere by preaching, which is his life and soul. 26. Religion, economic development, and sense gratification. These are described in the Vedas as Trivarga, or three ways to salvation. Within these three categories are education and self-realization. Ritualistic ceremonies performed according to the Vedic injunction, logic, the science of law and order, and the various means of earning one's livelihood. These are the external subject matters of study in the Vedas, and therefore I consider them material. However, I consider surrender to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu to be transcendental. Purport. These instructions of Prahlada Maharaj stress the transcendental position of devotional service. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14:26, Mam chayo vyabhicharina bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitjaitan brahmabhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. One who fully engages in the devotional service of the Lord is immediately raised to the transcendental position, which is the Brahmabhuta stage. Any education or activity not on the Brahmabhuta platform, the platform of self-realization, is considered to be material. And Prahlada Maharaj says that anything material cannot be the absolute truth, for the absolute truth is on the spiritual platform. This is also confirmed by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 3:45, where he says, Trigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Vavarjana. The Vedas mainly deal with the subject of the three modes of material nature. Rise above these modes, O Arjuna. Be transcendental to all of them. To act on the material platform, even if one's activities are sanctioned by the Vedas, is not the ultimate goal of life. The ultimate goal of life is to stay on the spiritual platform, fully surrendered to the Parama Purusha, the Supreme Person. This is the object of the human mission. In summary, the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies and injunctions are not to be discounted. They are means of being promoted to the spiritual platform. But if one does not come to the spiritual platform, the Vedic ceremonies are simply a waste of time. This is confirmed in Srimad-Bhagavatam 128. Dharma swanushtitat pungsam vishwaksena katasuyaha notpadayat yadi ritim shama eva hi kevalam. Duties, dharma, executed by men, regardless of occupation, are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the Supreme Lord. If one very strictly performs the various duties of religion, but does not ultimately come to the platform of surrendering to the Supreme Lord, His methods of attaining salvation or elevation are simply a waste of time and energy. Text 27. Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the well-wisher and friend of the living entities, formally explained this transcendental knowledge to the great saint Narada. Such knowledge is extremely difficult to understand without the mercy of a saintly person like Narada. But everyone who has taken shelter of Narada's disciplic succession can understand this confidential knowledge. Purport. It is stated here that this confidential knowledge is extremely difficult to understand, yet it is very easy to understand if one takes shelter of a pure devotee. This confidential knowledge is also mentioned at the end of Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord says, Sarva dharman pradityaja mamekam sharanam braja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. This knowledge is an extremely confidential secret, but it can be understood if one approaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the bona fide agent, the spiritual master, in the disciplic succession from Narada. Prahlada Maharaj wanted to impress upon the sons of the demons that although such knowledge can be understood only by a saintly person like Narada, they should not be disappointed. For if one takes shelter of Narada instead of material teachers, this knowledge is possible to understand. Understanding does not depend upon high parentage. The living entity is certainly pure on the spiritual platform, and therefore anyone who attains the spiritual platform by the grace of the spiritual master can also understand this confidential knowledge. Text 28. Prahlada Maharaj continued, I received this knowledge from the great saint Narada Muni, who is always engaged in devotional service. This knowledge, which is called Bhagavad Dharma, is fully scientific. It is based on logic and philosophy and is free from all material contamination. 29 and 30. The sons of the demons replied, finally, Dear Prahlad, neither you nor we know any teacher or spiritual master other than Shanda and Amarka, the sons of Shukracharya. After all, we are children and they are our controllers. For you especially, who always remain within the palace, it is very difficult to associate with a great personality. Dear friend, O gentle one, would you kindly explain how it was possible for you to hear Narada? Kindly dispel our doubts in this regard. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports, the Srimad-Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 6th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled Prahlada Instructs His Demoniac Schoolmates. Okay, we missed this Tamal Gopal. He usually gets the last one in. Okay. Just in case you're watching Prahlada, which I doubt if he is, Tamal. Okay, moving on. The 7th chapter, very interesting chapter, is called What Prahlada Learned in the Womb. In this chapter, to dissipate the doubts of his class friends, the sons of the demons, Prahlada Maharaj states how within the womb of his mother he had heard from the mouth of Narada Muni, who had instructed him in Bhagavad Dharma. When Hiranyakashipu left his kingdom and went to the mountain known as Mandarachala, to execute severe austerities, all the demons scattered. Hiranyakashipu's wife, Kayadu, was pregnant at that time, and the demigods, mistakenly thinking that she carried another demon in her womb, arrested her. Their plan was that as soon as the child took birth, they would kill him. Phew, nice demigods, huh? While they were taking Kayadu to the heavenly planets, they met Narada Muni, who stopped them from taking her away and took her to his ashram until Hiranyakashipu's return. In Narada Muni's ashram, Kayadu prayed for the protection of the baby in her womb, and Narada Muni reassured her and gave her instructions on spiritual knowledge. Taking advantage of those instructions, Prahlada Maharaj, although a small baby within the womb, listened very carefully. The spirit soul is always apart from the material body. There is no change in the spiritual form of the living entity. Any person above the bodily conception of life is pure and can receive transcendental knowledge. This transcendental knowledge is devotional service, and Prahlada Maharaj, while living in the womb of his mother, received instructions in devotional service from Narada Muni. Any person engaged in the service of the Lord through the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master is immediately liberated, and being free from the clutches of Maya, he is relieved of all ignorance and material desires. The duty of everyone is to take shelter of the Supreme Lord and thus become free from all material desires. Regardless of the material condition in which one is situated, one can achieve this perfection. Devotional service is not dependent on the material activities of austerity, penance, mystic yoga, or piety. Even without such assets, one can achieve devotional service through the mercy of a pure devotee. Text 1. Narada Muni said, although Prahlada Maharaj was born in a family of asuras, he was the greatest of all devotees. Having thus been questioned by his class friends, the sons of the asuras, he remembered the words spoken to him by me and replied to his friends as follows. Purport. When he was in the womb of his mother, Prahlada Maharaj listened to the words of Narada Muni. One cannot imagine how the baby and the embryo could hear Narada, but this is spiritual life. Progress in spiritual life cannot be obstructed by any material condition. This is called ahaituki apratiyata. Reception of spiritual knowledge is never checked by any material condition. Thus, Prahlada Maharaj, from his very childhood, spoke spiritual knowledge to his class friends, and certainly it was effective, although all of them were children. Text 2. Prahlada Maharaj said, when our father, Hiranyakashipu, went to Mandarachala mountain to execute severe austerities, in his absence, the demigods, headed by King Indra, made a severe attempt to subdue all the demons in warfare. Text 3. Alas, as a serpent is eaten by small ants, so the troublesome Hiranyakashipu, who always inflicted miseries upon all types of people, has now been defeated by the reactions of his own sinful activities. Saying this, the demigods, headed by Indra, arranged to fight the demons. Text 4 and 5. When the great leaders of the demons, who were being killed one after another, saw the unprecedented exertion of the demigods in fighting, they began to flee, scattering themselves in all directions. Simply to protect their lives, they hastily fled from their homes, wives, children, animals, and household paraphernalia. Paying no heed to all these, the demons simply fled. They weren't going to become brahmacharis either. They're sannyasis. The victorious demigods plundered the palace of Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, and destroyed everything within it. Then Indra, king of heaven, arrested my mother, the queen. Text 7. As she was being led away, crying in fear like a kurari captured by a vulture, the great sage Narada, who at that time had no engagement, appeared on the scene and saw her in that condition. Text 8. Narada Muni said, "O Indra, king of the demigods, this woman is certainly sinless. You should not drag her off in this merciless way. O greatly fortunate one, this chaste woman is the wife of another. You must immediately release her." Text 9. King Indra said, "In the womb of this woman, the wife of the demon Hiranyakashipu is the seed of that great demon. Therefore, let her remain in our custody until her child is delivered. Then we shall release her." Purport. Indra, the king of heaven, decided to arrest Prahlada Maharaj's mother because he thought that another demon, another Hiranyakashipu, was within her womb. The best course, he thought, was to kill the child when the child was born, and then the woman could be released. Text 10. Narada Muni replied, "The child within this woman's womb is faultless and sinless. Indeed, he is a great devotee, a powerful servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you will not be able to kill him." Purport. There have been many instances in which demons or non-devotees have attempted to kill a devotee, but they have never been able to destroy a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord promises in Bhagavad Gita 9:31, "Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati." This is a declaration by the Supreme Personality of Godhead that his devotee cannot be killed by demons. Prahlada Maharaj is a vivid example of the truth of this promise. Narada Muni told the King of Heaven, "It would be impossible for you to kill the child, even though you are demigods, and certainly it would be impossible for others." Text 11, Trikalagya. When the great saint Narada Muni had thus spoken, King Indra, being respectful to Narada's words, immediately released my mother. Because of my being a devotee of the Lord, all the demigods circumambulated her. Then they returned to their celestial kingdom. Purport. Although King Indra and the other demigods are exalted personalities, they were so obedient to Narada Muni that King Indra immediately accepted Narada Muni's words concerning Prahlada Maharaj. This is called understanding by the Parampara system. Indra and the demigods did not know that a great devotee was in the womb of Kayadu, the wife of Hiranyakashipu, but they accepted the authoritative statements of Narada Muni and immediately offered their respects to the devotee by circumambulating the woman in whose womb he was living. To understand God and the devotee by the Parampara system is the process of knowledge. There is no need to speculate about God and his devotee. One should accept the statements of the bona fide devotee and thus try to understand. Text 12. Prahlada Maharaj continued, "The great sage Narada Muni brought my mother to his ashram and assured her of all protection, saying, 'My dear child, please remain at my ashram until the arrival of your husband.'" Text 13. After accepting the instructions of Devarshi Narada, my mother stayed in his care without fear from any direction, as long as my father, the king of the Daityas, had not become free from his severe austerities. My mother, being pregnant, desired the safety of her embryo and desired to give birth after her husband's arrival. Thus she stayed at Narada Muni's ashram, where she rendered service unto Narada Muni with great devotion. Purport. It is stated in Srimad-Bhagavatam 9:19-17, Matra swasra turitra va na vivaktasano bhavet balavan indriya gramo vidbangsam apikarshati. One should not remain in a secluded place with a woman, even one's mother, sister, or daughter. Nonetheless, although one is strictly prohibited from staying with a woman in a secluded place, Narada Muni gave shelter to Prahlada Maharaj's young mother, who rendered service to him with great devotion and faith. Does this mean that Narada Muni transgressed the Vedic injunctions? Certainly he did not. Such injunctions are intended for mundane creatures, but Narada Muni is transcendental to mundane categories. Narada Muni is a great saint and is transcendentally situated. Therefore, although he was a young man who could give shelter to a young woman and accept her service, Haridas Thakur also spoke with a young woman, a prostitute, in the dead of night, but the woman could not deviate his mind. Instead, she became a Vaishnavi, a pure devotee, by the benediction of Haridas Thakur. Ordinary persons, however, should not imitate such highly elevated devotees. Ordinary persons must strictly observe the rules and regulations by staying aloof from the association of women. No one should imitate Narada Muni or Haridas Thakur. It is said, Vaishnavera kriya mudra bigye na bujaya. Even if a man is very advanced in learning, he cannot understand the behavior of a Vaishnava. Anyone can take shelter of a pure Vaishnava without fear. Therefore, in the previous verse, it has been distinctly said, Devarsher antike sakutobaya. Kayadu, the mother of Prahlada Maharaj, stayed under the protection of Narada Muni without fear from any direction. Similarly, Narada Muni in his transcendental position stayed with the young woman without fear of deviation. Narada Muni, Haridas Thakur, and similar acharyas, especially empowered to broadcast the glories of the Lord, cannot be brought down to the material platform. Therefore, one is strictly forbidden to think that the acharya is an ordinary human being. Gurushu Nadamati. Text 15. Narada Muni delivered his instructions both to me, who was within the womb, and to my mother, who was engaged in rendering him service. Because he is naturally extremely kind to fallen souls, being in the transcendental position, he gave instructions on religion and transcendental knowledge. These instructions were free from all material contamination. Purport. Here it is said, Dharmasya tattvam jnanam cha nirmalam. The word nirmalam refers to spotless dharma, spotless religion, or in other words, Bhagavat Dharma. Ordinary ritualistic activities constitute contaminated religion, by which one benefits by developing material wealth and prosperity. But uncontaminated, pure religion consists of understanding one's relationship with God and acting accordingly, thus fulfilling the highest mission of life and returning home, back to Godhead. Prahlada Maharaj advised that one elevate oneself to the standard of Bhagavat Dharma from the very beginning of life. Komara acharat pragyo dharman bhagavatan iha. The Lord himself also speaks of pure, uncontaminated religion when he says, Sarvadharman prityaja mamekam sharanam braja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Bhagavad Gita 18:66. One must understand one's relationship with God and then act accordingly. This is Bhagavat Dharma. Bhagavad Dharma means Bhakti Yoga. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayat Yasu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yadahaitukam. By rendering devotional service under the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless mercy, causeless knowledge, and detachment from the world. Bhagavatam 127. To be situated on the platform of pure religion, one should perform Bhakti Yoga in relationship with Krishna, Vasudeva. Text 16. Because of the long duration of time that is past, and because of her being a woman and therefore less intelligent, my mother has forgotten all those instructions. But the great sage Narada blessed me, and therefore I could not forget them. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 9:32, the Lord says, Mam hipartha vyapashritya ye pisyu papayoneya striyo vaishas tata shudras tepiyanti param gatim. O son of Prita, those who take shelter of me, though they be low-born, though they be low-born, women, Vaishyas, merchants, or Shudras, workers, can approach the supreme destination. The word Papayoni refers to those who are less than Shudras, but even though a woman may not be Papayoni, because of being less intelligent, she sometimes forgets devotional instructions. For those who are strong, however, there is no question of forgetting. But women are generally attached to material enjoyment, and because of this tendency, they sometimes forget devotional instructions. But even if a woman practices devotional service strictly according to the rules and regulations, the statement by the Lord Himself that she can return to Godhead, Tepiyanti Padam Gatim, is not at all astonishing. One must take shelter of the Lord and rigidly follow the rules and regulations. Then, regardless of what one is, one will return home, back to Godhead. Prahlada Maharaj's mother was more concerned with protecting the child in the womb and was very anxious to see her husband return. Therefore, she could not consider very seriously the sublime instructions of Narada. Text 17. Prahlada Maharaj continued, My dear friends, if you can place your faith in my words, simply by that faith, you can also understand transcendental knowledge, just like me, although you are small children. Similarly, a woman can also understand transcendental knowledge and know what is spirit and what is matter. Purport. These words of Prahlada Maharaj are very important in regard to knowledge descending by the disciplic succession. Even when Prahlada Maharaj was a baby within the womb of his mother, he became fully convinced of the existence of the Supreme Power because of hearing the powerful instructions of Narada, and understood how to attain perfection in life by Bhakti Yoga. These are the most important understandings in spiritual knowledge. Yasya Devi Parab Bhaktir Yata Devi Tatagaro Tasyaite Katitar Yartaha Prakashante Mahatmanaha. Unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master, all the imports of Vedic knowledge are automatically revealed. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6:23. Atak Shri Krishna Namadi Navaved Grayam Indriyahi Sevan Mukhe Hijivado Swayameva Spurat Jadaha. No one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:2-234. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyas chasmi tatpadaha tato mam tatpato gyatma vishate tadanantaram. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as He is only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Bhagavad Gita 18:55. These are Vedic instructions. One must have full faith in the words of the spiritual master and similar faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then the real knowledge of Atma and Paramatma and the distinction between matter and spirit will be automatically revealed. This Atma Tattva, or spiritual knowledge, will be revealed within the core of a devotee's heart because of his having taken shelter of the lotus feet of a Mahajan, such as Prahlada Maharaj. In this verse, the word Bhuyat may be understood to mean, let there be. Prahlada Maharaj offers his obeisances to his class friends. Prahlada Maharaj offers his blessings to his class friends, saying, also become faithful like me. Become bona fide Vaishnavas. A devotee of the Lord desires for everyone to take to Krishna consciousness. Unfortunately, however, people sometimes do not have staunch faith in the words of the spiritual master, who comes by the disciplic succession, and therefore they are unable to understand transcendental knowledge. The spiritual master must be in the line of authorized disciplic succession, like Prahlada Maharaj, who received the knowledge from Narada. As the class friends of if the class friends of Prahlada Maharaj, the sons of demons, were able to accept the truth through Prahlada, they would certainly also become fully aware of transcendental knowledge. The words Vaishadari Di refer to intelligence concerning the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is extremely expert. The Lord has created wonderful universes by his expert knowledge. Unless one is extremely expert, he cannot understand the expert management of the Supreme Expert. Shall I repeat that?
Yes.
Hello. Unless one is extremely expert, he cannot understand the expert management of the Supreme Expert. One can understand, however, if one is fortunate enough to meet a bona fide spiritual master coming in the disciplic succession from Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Mother Lakshmi, or the Kumaras. These four sampradayas, or disciplic successions of knowledge and transcendence, are called the Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, Shri Sampradaya, and Kumara Sampradaya. Sampradaya viniha ye mantras te nishpala mataha. The knowledge of the Supreme received from such a sampradaya or disciplic succession can give one enlightenment. If one does not take to the path of disciplic succession, it is not possible for one to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one understands the Supreme Lord through devotional service with faith in the disciplic succession, and then advances further, he awakens his natural love of God, and then his success in life is assured. It's exactly 7:30. We'll stop here, give you all a break so you can relish and digest what Prahlada Maharaj is saying here.
Some comments on here. No questions, but
Please,
okay.
enlighten us. These are reflections. We're asking for reflections.
They're not really reflections either. Reena Kumar says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, Tamal wanted to come, but we could not make it. And Tamal says, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Tamal. We're missing you. Without my fist pump, what am I going to do?
Rati says, Jai Shri Guru Maharaj, steady like a rock. And then Katie Romai, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, sorry. Hare Krishna. Oh wait, no, she was talking to Rati, never mind. Sorry, I didn't read, I thought she was talking to you, but she was asking where Rati was at.
Okay.
That's it.
When you read, you have to read clear, slow and clear. Take lessons from how I read and read like that so everybody can understand. Okay? Practice makes perfect. Okay. Reflections. Anything that's stuck in your mind? Yes, Sarva. Thank you.
I liked how Prabhupada mentioned about the Durida. Krishna is God for everyone, not just the Durida, the poor. He often makes
Krishna's God for everyone, not just the Daridra, the poor. Yes, in that regards, Srila Prabhupada used to say that when the Mayavadis call the poor people Daridra Narayan, that means you shouldn't be able to call even the dogs and goats Narayan, goat Narayan, dog Narayan. And he said that, he kind of pointed out that was a mistake. That's an illusory conception. They want to worship the poor, but they don't want to worship Krishna in the heart of the rich or any other people. Pranahari, Hari Bol. They went to the Anima convention today and distributed books. For those of you who weren't here when we made the announcement, we made it early before everybody came in. They distributed 120 some books. Huh? 126 books today. Hare Krishna. Very nice. Very nice. Haribol. Hare Krishna. That's how you do them. And that's how you please Srila Prabhupada.
What was that conference on?
Huh? Huh? Anima?
Anime convention.
Anime convention. It's the and nowadays people will worship anywhere, anything. They won't go to a temple and worship God, but they'll worship the Japanese cartoons. These are Japanese cartoons, so everybody dresses up like Japanese cartoon characters and gets together and has a party or something like that. I don't know what they do exactly. Huh? What? It's weird. It's weird.
I guess along those lines, I like text 24 of chapter 6, where Prahlada Maharaj tells the sons of the demons to show mercy to all living entities by enlightening them in devotional service, thus becoming their well-wishers. And Prabhupada focuses on this in the purport, how he says preaching is the best service to the Lord. The Lord will immediately be extremely satisfied with one who engages in this service of preaching Krishna consciousness. Oh yeah, so then Prabhupada quotes Bhaktaram Yogitapasam.
Say that again? I'm sorry.
Prabhupada quotes the 529 in the Bhaktaram.
Yeah, Bhaktaram Yogitapasam.
This is how, but this is what we preach. We realize those three things ourselves, that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all sacrifice, proprietor of everything, and he's the best well-wisher of everyone.
Yeah.
So if we personally understand it and then preach it to everyone, and this will bring peace and tranquility all over the world. So it's a nice tool to have when we preach to people, to have some sort of guidelines, not that we say
just anything,
but
yeah.
Like if we get those three things across, that Krishna, God. He's our best friend. He owns he's the proprietor of everything.
Everyone's best friend means how, and we may think I can be everyone's best friend. When people say I'm God, then we say to them, really? Are you everyone's best friend? Do you know everyone? What about what's your name? And then give some name that they could possibly, And this way, Prabhupada would not just think it, but he would preach it and point it out by very strong and realized and clever and sometimes even comical statements. He would bring the realizations out in people. And that's how what Prabhupada said, hearing and explaining is more important, is more effective than reading. Hearing and explaining is more effective than just reading. So this hearing is very effective. When you sit by yourself and try to read a book, and I couldn't help but notice that sometimes it's hard for us to stay awake and stay alert here in a room like this when we're hearing it, like in this association. What's the speaker? We're by ourselves in a room. Fat chance that we're going to stay awake for very long. So this is the way to do them. This is the way to do them. What else? Okay, we have another question in cyberspace.
Katie says.
Who?
Katie Romai. I think.
Katie Romai. Okay.
I would like to ask Maharaj how to preach to non-devotees if they start committing nama aparad as a result of the false ego given by the particular religion they follow.
Well, first of all, the ninth offense against the holy name of the Lord is to preach the glories of the holy name of the Lord to persons who can't understand, who don't want to understand, who are faithless. So, generally speaking, I mean, especially if you're in a public place and you're preaching person to person to distribute books, or if you're preaching to a person just, I don't know, having come in contact with them somehow or other, and they start to do that, then you shouldn't go any further. You shouldn't try to preach to that person. Because what will happen is if you try to insist and they're faithless and they don't want to hear and they're going to always argue, then they'll make an offense against the holy name. So your point is, when they make offense, how to change their minds? You don't. You don't try. If they're offensive, you just change the subject and talk some general, principle or general preaching point. Try to help them to understand that they're not the body, and how spiritual life is, the goal or whatever. But when you get into the, details of the glories of a holy name, and they are faithless and they will blaspheme the holy name, then you should leave that place. Just excuse yourself very politely. I don't know, I have to go to the bathroom, excuse me, don't mind. Nature's calling, and then you go. We can't imitate Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya can convert anyone, but we can't. Haridas Thakur could, convert a prostitute in the middle of the night. He'd see him alone, but we can't, imitate that and get ourselves in trouble. And if we follow ourselves, who can we help? We have to keep ourselves spiritually fit, materially fit, and that's our service. So that's part of our service, not to associate with persons in a way that we have to hear blasphemy and then ourselves become compromised and become weak spiritually. That is our devotional service. Just like you have to take enough rest, that's devotional service, so that you can stay awake and do your service nicely. We take care of our bodies, keep them healthy, keep a right diet, don't do extreme things that might cause accident or ill health. That's service. That's part of our devotional service. And if we do it in that mood, then that is also protective, protects us from the material energy. But at the root of all that is our own conviction That's faith. You know what Prabhupada, how Prabhupada defines faith in the Bhagavad Gita? Do you remember? Yes, Sarva.
Maybe I'm wrong, but something about belief in something sublime or something.
Yeah. Unflinching faith in something sublime. Unflinching faith in something sublime. Maybe it's unflinching trust. That's what I'm sorry. The word faith. He's defining faith, and he says unflinching. It's in the Gita, but I'd have to wait a second. Just so I'll tell you, I can tell you where it is. We're on 18. Don't let me forget. Okay. Unflinching. Okay, it's down to 9. That's pretty good. We'll find it quickly. This is chapter 2, verse 41. For those of you who want to write it down and read it, it says, faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, one need not act in relationship to the material world. Anyway, he goes on and on. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. The highest perfection in Krishna consciousness is renunciation of the material conception of life. This state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. I just told this story to someone. When was it? Over the phone. Today I was talking to someone over the phone. When in Vrindavan, when Prabhupada was getting very sick towards the end, before he was bedridden, they used to take him in a palanquin to the temple for darshan. And a friend of mine, Sundararup Prabhu, he was quite strong. You need strong palanquin. Remember, Jadbharat, he was very strong, so they selected him to be the palanquin character. So he was selected to be the palanquin carrier for Prabhupada. So you know in Vrindavan, when you go into Prabhupada's quarters from the courtyard, there's those little steps and very narrow actually. In India sometimes doorways are narrow. And then you go and then there's that little room. Now it's a reception kind of thing, and then used to be the secretary's room. But anyway, so he was carrying Prabhupada in the palanquin with another devotee, and they came to those steps, and he had to turn around to face Prabhupada when he was going backwards down the steps, because he had to keep it level, so to keep it comfortable for Prabhupada. So when he turned around, Prabhupada was like, closer than this. He was just this far away. You could touch him, reach out and touch him. And so he was carrying, he was trying to be he told me, he was being careful. And Prabhupada went like this and got real close. He said, "Are you convinced?" And it was all he could do, to keep a hold of the palanquin, He told me he almost dropped it. He was so shocked, that Prabhupada was being so personal like that to him and asking. And so he told me later on, he said that he could tell that Prabhupada was testing his faith. If our faith is strong, then we don't get blown away by the least little thing that goes by, or something that goes into my mind, or some desire, or some pain, or something, It doesn't affect our faith when we're convinced. So we have to become convinced first. So we do the needful. We accept those things that are favorable and reject those things that are favorable if you feel that our conviction is going down. This is the pillar of spiritual life. Unflinching trust in something sublime. So what does that mean? Unflinching trust in something sublime means maybe you haven't experienced it yet. Unflinching trust in something sublime means it's there, and you should know by hearing from Krishna and hearing from the spiritual master, hearing from these great personalities in these books. And that's why Prabhupada repeats the same thing again and again. Just to increase the conviction, to increase the strength of our faith. Yes, Sarva.
Some of the people that might have sectarian doubts are like Christians, but in Prabhupada's books there's really nice tributes to Prabhupada's books by Thomas Merton, a famous Christian theologian.
Thomas Merton.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote the foreword to the first Gita.
Yeah, the Macmillan Gita, I think.
First Gita. Caller.
And there's one big preacher in Houston named Joel Osteen. He was on an interview show, and this guy named Larry King was interviewing him some years ago. He said, I like what you're saying, but does this mean people that aren't Christians aren't understanding it? They're wrong, right? And this Joel Osteen said, when I was in India with my father, his father was a preacher in India, he said, I didn't understand their religion, but I saw that a lot of people love God, so I can't judge them. So sometimes even a few Christian leaders have said things like that, respecting the culture and the faith of people in India.
Prabhupada said anybody who has faith in God is a devotee. Not just Joel, just not these big guys.
Yeah.
Anybody who has faith in God is a devotee.
I think you use that Christians that are small-minded.
Yeah. But some of them that are just, there was this one did you ever meet Jeremy?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeremy was Bhagavan Krishna Bhagavan. You know, the brahmachari from Rupanuga, TSKP, very nice devotee, and he was distributing books at Texas A&M College Station, and he met Jeremy. Jeremy was a senior, and he was in his last year, and he was very nice, very devout Christian, but he was very nice, and he got the book and he read it, and then he invited him over to see me, and I talked to him twice, answered all his questions, and he was, I thought he was going to come and join right after he, graduated. He was so good, so favorable, and he was just drinking in the books and responding perfectly. Obviously, he was a devotee from a previous life or something. It was so good, very intelligent. And then he went to visit his sister and brother-in-law in California, and they just flipped him. And he came back, and we were the devil, and he didn't want to see us, he didn't want to hear anything about it, he was just like completely, so we can't be sentimental either, but anybody who believes in God is some kind of devotee. But sometimes people who say they believe in God aren't really devotees. So that term, and the point that you're making, is that if a person's open-hearted enough, to see that a person who has faith in God is actually a devotee, then we can use that but we have to be very careful, because right now, I mean, you know, there's lots of Americans I've read that are giving up their institutional identification of religion, but who still wanted to be spiritual.
Another one.
Question?
Manjari
Hey Rati, Hare Krishna.
says, Dear Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
God, it's still late at night. Oh, that's because it's Friday. She must be up because it's Friday.
Mhm.
Okay.
All glories to your steady devotional service to bringing Srila Prabhupada's teachings to us day after day. If you do not mind me asking, would you tell us one of your favorite memories or impressions of Srila Prabhupada?
In New York in 1976, I was kind of doing the finances, and Radha Damodar Party merged with the New York Temple, and it was really, really important. That's when we just got the big skyscraper. So I was normally always in the back doing the finances, because it was really a lot of pressure. So I wasn't there very much during things. And one day, when Prabhupada came in 1976, you know, I would go to of course I would go to every class and whenever he was around in his room sometimes. And one day I was there, standing in the front, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj gave me the sandalwood to put on Prabhupada's forehead, you know, when he sat down to take Guru Puja. And I was kind of a little nervous because I'd never done that before. I mean, I'd met Prabhupada and talked to him and asked him questions and so many things, but I'd never done anything like that, touch him personally, privately. And so I walked there was a kind of stairs going up to the Vyasasana, and I kind of very carefully walked up, you know, and the sandalwood wasn't made perfectly properly, and therefore it was a little watery. So I had to make sure that it was all, you know, I was taking my time, you know. I was hoping that Prabhupada wouldn't tell me to get lost. And I put it on, you know, very carefully, the way I'd always watched, from here and then all to here, not touching the tilak, and then the other side, like that. And then I kind of stepped back to see how it looked. And Prabhupada, he looked up to me. He looked up at me and he goes, oh, and then 5-year-old child face. Thank you very much. It was like, it was, the love coming from him was so powerful, and his appreciation and gratitude for this little tiny service was so powerful. It practically knocked, when I started to walk down, I was drunk, and I practically fell on the floor. That was a very strong realization, experience I had of Prabhupada's humility and childlike innocence, even though he was so heavy and so knowledgeable and so great. And then he went out to Gitanagari later on, and I was sent out there by Tamal Krishna Maharaj to be the ad hoc TP, even though Prabhupada was in charge of the whole thing. I was out there just to give classes and try to, you know. Anyway, there weren't very many devotees out there at that time because Prabhupada was trying to recuperate his health. This was 1976. And yeah, I got to lead Guru Puja to Prabhupada, direct, with just a few other people in the room. And I just let loose, you know, I poured my heart out to Prabhupada as much as I could. And afterwards he looked me right in the eye and he went, Jai! Like that. Like just really, you know, in a very approving mood. So I felt these things about what happens when you actually please Prabhupada, doing anything, any little thing, you know. And yeah, these were the things that, yeah, they'll last me the whole rest of my life. Every time you read one of these books and you catch something and you get a realization, or you taste what it's like to be with Prabhupada, It's the same. His sound is the same. His words are the same. Okay, that's it. I gotta go. Thank you very much for out there in cyberspace for your questions and realizations and just your company. Thank you very much. Thank you for all of you who are so loyal hearers of Prabhupada's books. You're my life and soul. Hare Krishna. Prahlada Maharaj ki jai, Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Go Premanandi. Tomorrow's Saturday, so wait a second. Somebody's asking whether or not we can have. Somebody asked if we could have this reading at a different time because of the book distribution.
If we could push it back to the 6:30, it would be
For tomorrow, just for tomorrow.
just
Okay, pass the word. Pass the word. Tomorrow we're going to do a 6:30. Unless we have any violent objections. Any violent objections? Okay, 6:30 tomorrow. Thank you very much. 4:30 on Sunday because of the Sunday feast. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow. Haribol.